All right, hello, coffee makers, not coffee takers. He is the master of cyber farms, Alfredo B. Nash Jr., and I, the people's chief, Dr. Joseph J. Millie Jr. We are the hosts of the Cyber Coffee Hour. And the Cyber Coffee Hour originates from Mount Vernon, New York, and we're excited to hear the experiences and stories of our incredible guests. Our mission is to share knowledge, deepen understanding, and foster a sense of community in the vast realm of cyberspace. So for today's show, we'll have a coffee chat with the owner of Black Ring Technology, Devrryn Jenkins. Now, Devrryn Jenkins specializes in offensive security, red team operations after building experience from PC bench technician to systems engineer. Now, running his own MSP and freelancing, his diverse background across organizations of all sizes offers him both operational knowledge and a unique attacker's perspective. A self-described wizard by trade and lifelong student, Devrryn complements his security work by tinkering with electronics, microcontrollers, and single-board computers, building and deconstructing technology with equal enthusiasm. With intermediate coding skills and an embrace of versatility, he lives by the philosophy that being a jack of all trades is oftentimes better than a master of one. Devrryn Jenkins, welcome to the Cyber Coffee Hour.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, just real quick as we always like to do, just go around the virtual table. I guess we start with you, Devrryn. Just how things been going for you this past week.
Oh, it's been busy. It's been busy, man. I've taken on little side projects here and there. I think anybody who works in this field knows how big that side project list can get. But just spending time with my family, spending time out in the garden with my wife, helping her doing some weeding earlier today. But it's been a busy week, and busy's good.
Awesome, Alfredo. How about you?
Same. Yeah, that list is contacts and contracts. I dig it. I respect you saying that. There's a lot going on at work right now, trying to balance out nature training. So I just came from naturalist training today. It's pretty interesting experience. I do want to shout out Nature Week out here in the Baltimore area. So if I could take a quick clip of that, I'll hold it up for the recording. It's the 27th through the 31st. There's going to be a lot of us out there celebrating and gelling, planting things, playing music, drinking other stuff more than coffee. And then side of desk, yeah, there's a lot going on with B-Sides Charmers this weekend. So I didn't catch the first day because of the trainer I just mentioned, but I hope to get out there tomorrow and just link up with the industry, see what everybody's doing, see how they what's going on out there in Towson. But that's it right now.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, for me, man, I'm just trying to recover from this past week. For me, because I'm a big Knicks fan, so I've been watching the games as we get ready for the playoffs, and we're not going in with the momentum that we need to. We took a loss last night to Cleveland. We should have won that game. We lost to Detroit the night before. It didn't like that, but the Knicks are finishing third in the East. We have Detroit as our first round matchup coming up, so. So that's kind of where I am right now in terms of that. But outside of that, also, of course, just continuing my CSSP studying, also working on my PMP project management professional certification, well, renewing it because just working on the PDUs. What I noticed every vendor or org has a different term for the
CLP, CB, CEU.
that's why I struggled. Even I was like, PMP calls it PDUs, CompTIA calls it CEUs. I mean,
and
whatever.
none of them swap out. You can't say
it's the same thing. It's just just getting the credit so you don't have to retake the test. That's where I'm at right now. So
we should definitely do an episode on that.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of them.
I don't know why we do that. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing.
Same amount of hours.
Right.
One thing I will say is being a sports fan is a roller coaster in emotions. It's a roller coaster of life. My father was a huge Ravens fan, and one day he's cheering, the next day he's cursing. So I get why you got to recover from that.
It's the same for my brother. You explain. I'm not, shame on me. I'm not the greatest Knicks fan. My brother is, and now you explain why I haven't heard from him in a couple of times. Is he all right?
Hey, all you gotta do is just check the scores, man. You check the score, you see what mood they're gonna be in.
Right.
Oh, they lost. Maybe I'll leave them alone today. I won't hit them up today.
Maybe he's still recovering from that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Devrryn, so as we get into this, so your career path is taking you from the PC bench technician to systems engineer to running your own MSP. What was the pivotal moment that led you to focus specifically on offensive security and red team operations?
Snap.
So there was throughout my and even when I was a PC bench tech, I actually had a coworker who was like light years ahead of me when it came to security. There were quite a few pivotal points. I think a few of them were. So I watched a DEF CON talk. It was at DEF CON 23. It was by Robinson and Mitchell, and it was called "Knocking My Neighbor's Kid's Cruddy Drone Out of the Sky." I guess the kid was flying the drone over his house, and he was talking about using some technology I don't even think you could get nowadays, like radio signals and whatnot to jam the signal. And I just thought it was just the coolest thing because it was like in the physical space. And then also I saw another DEF CON talk by Dan Tentler. I can't remember which DEF CON it was, but he talked about how cybersecurity is like a forest and all of the trees are like separate bodies of knowledge. And you pick up those little bodies of knowledge, and through time you start to find the connections between those technologies. And I just realized, I was like, this is really what I want to do. I also don't mind writing reports. I know a lot of people understand when it comes to this field, a lot of it is really just report writing, and I don't mind doing that. I like writing. So those are probably my pivotal points. Working with like a lot of various organizations, it just gave me a really wide view, a wide range of view. And the more I got into it, the more I wanted to get into security and just get deeper. I get bored really easily, and there is never a dull moment in cybersecurity. There's, especially in the offensive side, there's never a dull moment. There's always something to learn. So yeah, that was probably my pivotal moments that really got me here.
Respect.
As you mentioned, I guess your love or affection for report writing, does that stem from something like, so let's say, like, did you enjoy English subjects or English class growing up? Is there some sort of correlation to that as to why?
I guess you could say I wasn't the best student. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I guess you could say that I did like English class. Where it really stems from is I've written 2 scripts and I'm in the process of writing a book. And it's all sci-fi, cyberpunk kind of stuff. But I just like creatively writing, and I like informing people in a way that makes sense to them. So I like to be able to, present a report and just have it put in a way where like it doesn't have to be overly technical, and the people who really need to read it can read it and understand it. So I think it's almost like kind of like report writing is almost like creative writing too, because you want to go, deep down into the technicalities of it, but you realize, the president or the CEO, whoever you might be presenting this report to, may not understand all that jargon. So it's
Exactly.
good to, I like translating stuff that way.
Would you ever write a offensive security book from like the nature aspect you just provided, like walking through a forest and counter the signal how that shit encountered? Like, would you ever explore that? So to your point, like I think that teaches the next generation, but it also breaks the jargon up, right? Would you ever consider?
I think I would definitely be interested in working on something like that. And just like you said, it breaks the jargon up, because just like we just finished talking about, man, I mean, you got acronyms from start to finish. As a matter of fact, Al, when me and you reconnected after a couple years, I would talk to you and you'd be going off with acronyms.
Jargon sandwiches, man. I'm sorry.
It's
It's the industry, man. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
and I'm getting lumped over the head with that too in different fields. A lot of jargons mean the same cyber jargons mean something else in the green side. But let's unpack that too, right? How does your experience working with organizations of various sizes influence your approach to pen testing and security assessments?
It gives me, like I said, like a wide range of view regarding like what could be present in an environment, what challenges they may be facing, and like the maturity of their security posture. Because, I worked with huge companies and multi-state organizations, and then I worked, PC bench tech mom and pop. And in between all of that, especially when I worked at my last job as a systems engineer, you just encounter a lot of different things. And it's helpful because you don't like, okay, so for example, what I do now, you don't generally find like medium-sized businesses with a SOC. Like that's not a thing. But if you go to like larger organizations, you would. So along the way, I got to know certain technologies. I got to know certain software. So right now, if I go into, I have quite a few clients that work in the medical field, mainly in dentist offices. And if I walk into a dentist office right now, I can tell you they're using Dentrix, they're using this software, this X-ray software. So just that experience just kind of, it made it easier for me to move into a security side, because if I'm aware of maybe a vulnerability or a POC out there for some software, it makes it a little bit easier on the enumeration to actually make some leeway and pivot.
And I think that's a great point because even from the government perspective, as you mentioned, going to like medical or hospitals of that nature. I just think of like even with like Veterans Affairs, like Veterans Affairs hospitals. A lot of times they're on networks, so you're gonna see a lot of the same software across any VA you go to. I guess having that knowledge, experience, and going in. Okay, you're expecting Vista. You're expecting to see certain equipment that supports that, no
You
matter.
know where that tech stack
Yeah,
is.
right. So
Right.
so anything outside of that, maybe you look for what you're expecting to see, and then if you see any anomalies, then you kind of maybe spend some time and evaluate that, see how that changes. But I think it's definitely valuable having that experience going.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
let's dive a little deeper and we'll get into the next part of the segment too. I feel the system engineer is like underrated too. I feel it's pivotal today. I mean, we've been around for a while, but I feel like system, network, and app come together for platform engineering.
Right.
Right. So when you said system engineer, it made a light go off in my head. Like that person should know how the whole site is built, to Dr. Joseph's
Yeah.
point, even in the private sector, right? So you can leave like, I don't want to pick on anybody, Sinai Medical. And you can see like down in the city, like, yeah, their network is not that familiar from Yale or any other system in the health. And we pick it on healthcare. We can even go to auto.
Right.
We've seen recent auto breaches and systems that are connected in the MSP world that say this is how a dealership is stood up. And I really think that the system engineer is kind of pivotal, but it's kind of like the unsung hero on the blue team, right?
Absolutely.
Like on the blue team side, they kind of don't get the rep for, hey, I could rebuild this stack, to your point, Devrryn.
Absolutely. And I think what made part of what made that systems engineer experience like so pivotal was the fact that we worked with a lot of different organizations. It was a smaller MSP, but we must have had at least 20 or 30 clients. So we were working with like gas line companies and automobile dealerships. And it's like we just finished saying a couple times, like when you get a group that's in the same field or in the same operational field, you find that they're all talking to each other. So, they're all using the same, data backup system. They're all using, they're all using the same, EDR, because it makes it easier for them. And these companies generally don't have an IT guy, or if they do, it's just kind of like one guy. So, I'm familiar with the one man operations too.
Right, so you guys get me every time. Even Clint, we had Clint on in the last episode. Everybody that knows me kind of gets me to laugh. And I see
I had to
now,
say it. I had to
I
say
see
it,
now
Ghetto.
what
I
you
had
did
to
there,
say it.
man. Like, all right, so you describe yourself as a wizard by trade. Could you share a security vulnerability you discovered that felt like uncovering hidden magic others couldn't see?
Well, I admittedly, I don't have any CVs under my belt yet. But I think like working with like POCs, proof of concepts, like reading reports on vulnerabilities and stuff, it kind of feels like magic sometimes, or like I'm reading from a spell book, because as they start to break down the vulnerability or break down the attack chain, I'm just like, that was an interesting choice. That was a really creative way of doing it. But one thing I can say is I used to work for a multi-state organization that was involved in the food sector. And they had a security team, and the security team had a badging system. This was pretty early in my career, and I wasn't super, versed on security, but I kind of had some understanding of things. And to make a long story short, I was working on the lead security guy's computer, and he had this software up. And while I'm leaning over, I'm hitting the keyboard and I don't know it, and the cursor is in the password field. And I looked down and I just absentmindedly hit enter. And then I realized that it actually logged me in, but that wasn't his password. I didn't know his password. So it was a buffer overflow in the password authentication field. And I just was like, whoa. So I just start hitting random keys and logging into all of these accounts. And I reached out to the company. They never reached out back to me. But
Wait,
I
stand
think
by.
that was the
Hold
one time where I was like, huh? Like, I was like, this is possible? And then I started to learn about the attack and what made it possible. And, that, I guess you could say that's where I get the wizard thing from, man. It's all magic to me at some point in time. We know it's science and, there's a lot of math in it, but it still seems like magic.
Yeah.
So I'm a loss of words. Just give me a second, right? You say you don't have any CVs in the belt, but you accidentally discovered one in the field. I would say accidentally on purpose.
Yeah, but what made it like, so that's actually how I started learning about reporting vulnerabilities because I just emailed their tech team and I was like, dude, I can log into anybody's account if I put like 100 @ symbols in there. And they just never responded. And like, I get it. They didn't know who I was. Like, I'm just some random guy emailing them. So, I get it. I understand why I probably didn't get a response. But it was fun though. It was fun while I was there. That was at my network engineer position.
And one quick question, Dr. Give me a second, because this has piqued my interest a little bit. Have you looked into bug bounty, and have you looked into anything recently since that first career experience?
I have bug bounty. So what I found is that bug bounty, you have to have very low expectations because the field is incredibly saturated and all
Yeah,
that low
100%.
hanging fruit is getting snapped up by automated tools and people like that. So whenever, I always chuckle whenever I hear some influencer say, "Oh, I made $40,000 off of this bounty." And it's like, okay, yeah, that's awesome. But how often does that happen? And it kind of sets an unrealistic expectation. But I've done some stuff on HackerOne. I'm on BugCrowd as well. And I kind of just poke around here and there. And actually, we can, get to some of that when we start talking about some of the hardware, like having the single board computers and stuff. It's really easy for me to like deploy something and like get a tool running and just kind of like walk away and forget it and not have to worry about resources on my main workstation. So, yeah, I've definitely looked into bug bounty. I've tinkered around with it, but you got to put in the work.
Yeah, 100%. We probably could do another segment on that, Dr.
So, Devrryn, so as someone who builds and destroys technology, how do your hardware tinkering projects with microcontrollers and single board computers inform your cybersecurity work?
So the single board computers, first off, when I first got my first Raspberry Pi, I was fascinated. I was like, there's no way that this thing is a computer. But what it really is helpful is, like I said, spinning up resources on the fly, using the Raspberry Pi to like, test POCs on certain things. Also, because it runs on ARM, that's helpful as well. So those are the main things. I think other than that, the microcontrollers I generally just kind of use to make for like side projects. But when you talk about microcontrollers, like for example, like a Pico, like a Raspberry Pico, there was an attack that was done on BitLocker on Windows machines a while back, and research like that, like as soon as I saw it, I went, grabbed a machine and immediately tested it because using that kind of stuff is fun. Another way that I use microcontrollers and like single board computers is for stuff like HID attacks. So, like key logging, keystroke injection, and stuff like that, just playing around with payloads to see what I can get through and what I can't on the physical side. Like, so let's say if on a red team operation, if you were to have the physical access to a device, how could I use these things? I'm big fans of tools like the OMG cable, a lot of the Hack 5 stuff that's out there. And sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I wonder if I could build that myself.
I think that's, for one, I think that's a great way to learn. Even if just mess around with stuff, just, of course, like maybe just watching others, you see something where, especially now, what we have available through YouTube and other different, options that are out there. Yeah, just being able to just kind of capitalize on your curiosity and just start messing around with stuff and see what happens. And I think I always believe OJT is probably the best way to learn, getting that hands on and seeing how things go. Even if you break it, at least okay. Now I figure out like, well, okay, why did it break? What did I
Right,
do here? And then
exactly.
kind of learn from there, and that's where you really grow and really gain that experience. So I mean, that's no, I think that's awesome. I think that's great, and a lesson for folks listening in to the Cyber Coffee Hour. If you're getting started with cybersecurity, go ahead and mess around, break stuff, but also not just to do it, not just to break stuff, but do it as you're learning. Understand why you did it, what happened, and
Right.
then and as you come, the next time around, then learn from that and build upon that, and that's really how you gain that experience.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that I definitely want to add to that too is, and I'm going to speak to like even the listeners now. Yeah, man, get out there and just get your hands in it. Just
Right,
break stuff. I
right,
can't tell you how many times I had to reinstall a VM. I can't tell you how many times I'm working with something and it may be electrical work and you touch the wrong pin and hear a pop and see the smoke. Like I've been there and I've definitely did and I think that's where like the build and destroy comes from. It's not like destroy in that sense. It's just like what you said, Dr. Joseph. It's just allowing yourself to break something in order to understand how it works. Because a lot of times, that's how we learn how things work, and then you just rebuild it and keep going.
Yeah, so I want to piggyback because I know now I got the teams sorted out. I'm a little bit in the gray, right? So I'm gonna pick your hoodies theme as the black team and the Honorable Dr. Joseph as the white team, right? I do want to caution because we are dating ourselves, gentlemen. When we say on the job training, you have to realize today, a lot of folks don't know what OJT is. I'll be real. Even the employers are really like, well, you learn on your own time. Some of them on the private side. I don't know about the public. Dr. Joseph can speak to that. But on the private side, you got to be very careful whose lab you break.
Well,
So back when we was coming up,
true.
They was only giving out 5-year sentences to your hoodie.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Today, you got to be cautious because now they're giving out 25 to life. So if you be careful whose production infrastructure you touch, because back in the day we could.
Right.
Now, set up these Raspberry
Pis,
in your little lab, but don't go out in the wild and destroy too many infrastructures. From
and
a person that could tell you, you don't want to get 25 to life when we know who will show up and say, well, listen, that was done in production.
Right.
The other side, that one, Hideo, you know what I'm saying? The second thing is, as a person that was one of those thinkers, it's the best thing you could do to stay up to date in cybersecurity. The best thing you could do. Like, to your point, I popped circuits, put cars in VCRs, and got in trouble with my dad. And took apart PlayStations, but just realize, use your own gear and try not to do too much of it on your employer systems, because as a person that's gotten bit by that, they will tell you, look, you were outside the scope, outside the lines.
And more I will definitely chime in with that, and I will say, kids, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think about it. Don't even think you're gonna get away. Don't consider it. Stay within your lab. I remember when I was like help desk 2, I want to say. And I came in and I was really learning PowerShell. Like, I had to book the PowerShell in lunches, like 30 lunches or something like that. And I get in and the sysadmin sees me open PowerShell and he's like, "What are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "I'm just querying the AD environment." He said, "Get, not set. Get, not set. Do not change anything." And I think the next day he was like, "Don't even mess with PowerShell." He just, and I got what he was saying. It was a little discouraging, but I understood completely what he was saying. So, don't do it, kids. Don't do it.
Yeah. To your point,
also,
too,
you mentioned the hoodie a couple times. I just want to shout that out. It's from a company called, it's from a maker called Dustrial.net.
Dustrial?
I guess we can put that in the show notes or something.
Yeah.
But they got a lot of cool clothes. And I love this hoodie.
That's awesome.
To your point, too, Dr. Joseph, what is ENF? You use another acronym. What is that? You said ENF. Do you remember what that is?
You said me?
Yeah. You said ENF.
I said ENF.
Yeah, so we got the acronym sandwich. We had OJT and ENF. So I guess it's explore and find. I don't know if you just said it because muscle memory, but that is a true term. You want to explore and find the little knickknacks that we're talking about, but most importantly, document and disclose them. So to your point, Devrryn, do not put any of these system command lines in place in prod without the documentation and previous approval. And then in the private sector, there is no disclosure. So please be cautious. Like, if you talk about something, don't do it. Don't do it on your own time, on your own dime, because when you explore and find it, you can't disclose it without the company's approval. That's our message from the private side.
Yeah. If again, everybody, if you're working in an environment doing IT stuff, and even if you're well versed in like batch scripting or PowerShell scripting or something like that, I have a rule: read the command 3 times. Understand what you're doing, because one typo and now you've broken everything.
It's over.
So read the command 3 times before you hit enter.
Right. Same day termination, man.
Yeah.
Right.
So the quote, "A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one," resonates with you. How has your diverse skill set proven advantageous in an industry that often pushes for specialization?
It's proven advantageous because, again, I see so many different. I've seen so many different networks set up a lot of different ways. I mean, and a lot of different tech stacks with a lot of different software on them. And it's helpful to have some knowledge of it so that when it's time to dig deeper into it, you can have a starting place. And just that diversity just really helps. I mean, I've done everything from swapping hard drives to running Cat 6 cable to, performing vulnerability assessments on small businesses. So, it's helpful to have that kind of diversity in your skill set. But to your point, there is a big thing about specialization. And I'm working on that. I'm working on trying to drill down on something that is really, really interesting to me, that I can like sort of master and have a full understanding of. So, I'm working on that part, but it's definitely helped me in the field because, I get into an environment and something new gets thrown at us and other guys or other girls are like, well, I don't necessarily know much about that. Let me read it. I'm like, just give me the manual. Just give me the manual. I've touched this before. Just give me the manual and we'll figure it out. So that's another thing, everybody. RTFM. Remember that.
And nobody's
Remember that acronym.
We're gonna put that reference out too.
I think that's a great point because especially I think just having that widespread knowledge where you do at least have a working knowledge of different areas where you're not specifically specialized in one specific area, but you do have at least a knowledge. Like you hear a subject comes up, you're like, okay, I'm quite familiar with that. You may not know all the intricate details, may need to dive a little bit further, but at least it's not completely foreign to you. I think that's valuable, especially as leaders, where where you're managing teams and you do have a diverse team where you have those specialized skill sets. And then when you're interacting with your team and you have someone maybe specialized in crypto, another person maybe specialized in different areas, it's not to have. Now you still want to defer to your specialists, but at least when you're having these conversations, you're not just completely lost. At least you can have a conversation still. So I think there's definitely value in that mindset.
Yeah, it's when you have that diversity, you know what questions to ask, you know where to start with it. So it's helpful. It's definitely helpful.
I think it's the Konami code to the industry too, right? So you become there's a model that I learned in the Apple store years ago that I didn't know. I put it on my LinkedIn too, but I used to talk about trainer, and I didn't know that was like a military term until like recently. You want to train, and you can't be the overarching know-it-all specialist. You actually become the single point of failure. Right. So when you don't want to be the person that knows everything about the stack because you might mess up on subnetting, you might mess up on cable crimping, you might mess up. So I think it's a good opportunity to collaborate instead of competing, which I don't hear enough in our industry. And to our point that we said offline, that's why I think it's becoming a wasteland today. There's not many people that can train across sectors. There's not people that can go, public, private, whatever sector you're looking at and say, hey, I don't know, let's find out. So that's the Apple Store thing too. Like, hey, I'm not the specialist in front of house. You're the specialist at back of house or front end and back end. Not everybody's mastering that today, especially when it comes to these full cloud sites. Like we're talking about global in nature now. Unless you're one of those pack up a briefcase and travel type people, you're not going to be the master in every sector in every country. Right. So I always look at it as like, hey, I want to train in my specialty, security ops, right? Can you train me in another specialty? And I think that's something that we kind of hold the burden of because we're becoming the old heads now. But also we need to learn to look at the benches and say, what do you know that I don't know? Let's find out together.
Right. And that's a big thing. That's a big thing. And I mean, just to kind of chime back into that, and I'm not going to go deep into this because we'll be here forever. But there's a lot of ego. There's a lot of ego, and that's frustrating because I'm just trying to learn. And, there's a lot of just like you said with the wasteland thing, man, there's a lot of ego out there. There's a lot of, one thing that I always found funny was, people get into chats and they would say, oh, we're really helpful and we've been collaborative. And if you have a question, ask. And then you ask the question and they're like, why didn't you Google it? And I'm like, what's the point of saying that if you're just going to tell me to go Google it? So, there's that problem too. But I definitely don't believe in that. So, but yeah, you're right, man. Collaboration is super important.
So we have Devrryn Jenkins here, owner of Black Ring Technology, here on the Cyber Coffee Hour, part of the Alive Podcast Network. As we get into the back half of the episode, as we learn a little bit more about Devrryn and also a little bit more of the lighter side of things as we get to know him a little bit more. First one here for you, Devrryn. Sure. What motivates you to bring affordable and knowledgeable support and security to small to medium-sized businesses?
Well, it certainly ain't the paycheck, I'll tell you that much.
Don't say it too loud, man.
I'm just kidding. But no, what it is like as I started to, as you sort of like make a name for yourself as like the IT guy or the computer guy, certain people will call you, oh, my server's down, oh, my workstation's down. And what I noticed is that there was just this huge gap between the support that people were getting in small to medium size versus like your corporate private sector kind of thing. And what I wanted to do what I thought was like, these folks need the basics at least, like MFA, segmented network, good password hygiene. And there wasn't really a lot of that. A lot of people that were providing support were kind of just like, as long as it works, I don't care. And I don't like that. You know, I've had small businesses say, why do I need that? It's not like North Korea is going to hack me. I hear that all the time, or Russia or something like that. But what I usually tell people is like, you don't want to wait until the building's burning down to get a fire extinguisher. Let's just do it right the first time. And what I've always found is that when I apply that, people are left satisfied because they know their stuff just works and it's going to work. And they know that there's at least a base level of security there that, you know, may just stop a script kiddie from, you know, dropping some random PowerShell script on your DC. I think that's really what it is. Obviously, there's not really a lot of like pen testing work going on in these orgs. Their security model is just not mature enough. It'd be overkill. But at least I can just do like a quick vulnerability assessment. And then I say, oh, do you realize like your computer in the back hasn't updated in like 2 months? It's like, oh no, I didn't know that. Like, okay, well, let's take care of that, you know? Just little stuff like that. So really, you know, it's one of those things where I saw something that I felt, I don't want to say responsible for, but I felt like I could help. So that's why I started Black Ring, and it's been a crazy couple of startup years. But like I said, it's not necessarily been for the paycheck the whole time. But you know, it's been helping out, and I've been helping people, and I feel good about it. So that's really just what motivates me, is just to come in, be knowledgeable, give them a decent price, get it done right the first time, and then provide support when they call.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna pump you up a little bit, man. You've been schooling me to the world in the last 10 or so years. You know, when you told me that offline, that there's no pen test, there's no scope, there's no real recognition of, because some of these folks are you know, piecemealing it too. They don't have an IT budget. They don't have a dedicated person, sysadmin, sysengineer, a network engineer, database engineer, right? So all of the stack that we come to know back of hand in the domain controller environment, by the way, it's a DC, because you know, we're gonna break up some of the acronyms some more.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
They don't no, because we gotta flip it, right? But they don't really know where their spend relies on, what their IT spend relies on month to month. They just want to keep the doors open. And the term that we said on our last episode is business as usual. So when you come in the door and you're like pumping cyber defense, because to be honest, there are actors out there. They may not have the revenue for it. That might be a bankruptcy situation for them if they were ever hit. So I want to send that to you, because when we reconnected that, you schooled me on how saturated the market is and it's not today. So that's cool, man. Which technology would you say first sparked your interest in cybersecurity? I know we touched on it earlier.
I'd probably say in my early like PC bench tech days, what really started to spark was like security distros like Backtrack, which if people don't know, Backtrack is now Kali Linux. But like before then, I was just a bench tech. Like all I knew was Windows and Mac OS. Like I didn't know anything about Linux. So just learning about Linux, the different distros, and starting to understand networking more was probably the technology that really started to get me into it. Like I said, I had a coworker who was way deeper into security, and he showed me how to use AirCrack NG, which for those who don't know, it's a Wi-Fi tool, penetration test tool that's in use.
Don't give away too many of the secrets.
So you know, he showed me that, and again, you know, that goes back to the wizardry thing. I was just blown away, and so I would say that's where it probably started, like security distros and Linux and stuff like that.
So Backtrack, yes, Kali. Was there any other ones coming out? Because the same deal, right? 20 years ago, not many people knew Linux.
Yeah,
and today you often see pen testers don't have enough Linux skill set. So was there any other distros back then that you remember?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I've uninstalled and reinstalled so many of them. One thing I saw a lot early on was people just using something like maybe Arch or you know, just a bare bones Linux system and just installing what they needed. You know, because tools like Backtrack or Kali, they come preloaded with a lot of different tools. So you know, a lot of the guys who are really wizards I was seeing was kind of like building their own distros. So I think that was where I learned a lot of different things too. But not another one in particular, no.
Well, I just want to shout out Security Onion, because I didn't know it was real until I came across Security Onion blocking the attackers. So shout out to them. I know they're still in industry, but at the same time, you know, sysadmins didn't know how to defend. So now we have the Royal Security Onion out there doing most of the job. So those we should run an exercise with those two.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, Devrryn, what significant obstacles did you encounter on your path to success, and how did you navigate them?
So I am I'm an autodidact, as you may have heard with me tinkering and doing everything. I like to learn a lot by myself. But the obstacle that I faced is like during the later part of my career, it got stagnant because like I didn't have any certs. And I knew what I knew, but HR didn't care. So I wasn't getting any calls back from HR. And then right around that time, like I lost a lot of family members, a lot of people that raised me, including the miscarriage, and it just completely knocked me off of my game. And that was probably one of the
Mm.
biggest obstacles. I made some poor life choices, but luckily I bounced back. And it wasn't until one of the last bosses that I had, he just really encouraged me to just get back on the horse, man. He was like, I know you're going through it mentally. I know the mental health issues are there, depression and things like that, things that all men go through at some point in time. But he really encouraged me to get back on the horse. And then that's when I started to tell myself, well, I got to get certs. I like offensive security. And that's when I started moving into working towards things like my OSCP and my CPTS. So that's the offensive security certified professional for people that don't know. That's from OffSec. And then the other one is the certified penetration testing specialist. And that's from Hackbox. So just getting back on the horse, man. Like you just when you feel defeated and you feel like things just aren't really working out, it's really hard for you to kind of pour into the passion because you kind of feel like you're just floating. I think another set of obstacles, significant obstacles, is just running a business is not for the weak. It's
Mm.
and I ran into a lot of obstacles over the past few years. Just not getting paid on time, not getting paid, people not wanting to pay me what I felt like I was worth, and that was really defeating too. But I learned a lot. That's part of why, if you look at my LinkedIn, you may see that Black Ring Technology isn't operational right now. It isn't, but it's going to be coming back in a couple of months. I just had to get some things together because all I want to do is build networks and help people and hack stuff. But when you run a business, you got to be. I found myself being a marketer, and a salesman,
Oh
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
keeping up with stuff.
It's definitely multi-encumbered.
Yeah, not fun. It was not fun, but it's necessary. So, it's just those were mainly just the obstacles. And, now that I feel like I've moved past a lot of that stuff, healed from a lot of that stuff, I'm ready to throw my weight back behind what I know how to do.
I think that's one thing that really stuck out to me, as you mentioned, as you say, you're dealing with those pretty much just life, having those life issues that come about, and having someone that encourage you and help you to to realize that you do have those skill sets, and for you to encourage you to get back with it. And I think that's really a lesson to everyone. I think there's going to be times we're going to deal with a lot of things that may take us out. We may feel mentally defeated, physically defeated in certain aspects, and what we need to do, we need to make sure that we're checking on each other. Simply as that. We're not asking anything grandiose or anything like that. Just it could be a simple text or phone call. Say, hey, how you doing, man? I haven't heard you for a while, and just want to check in.
Right.
So sometimes just doing that is enough to really change someone's perspective and change from what they've been doing, because they could be in a dark spot, and they may need that encouragement that helps. And also, and part of that too, as you say that, for what you shared, was that you using your skills as an outlet, using technology as an outlet to get away from those things. I think one quick example, I saw a recent interview, is an excerpt from an interview from this is a WWE wrestler, CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
He was interviewed about his career, and he had shared that if it wasn't for wrestling, he would either be in jail or dead right now, point blank. So I just say that to say we all need that sort of outlet, to creative outlet, to where so for you, Devrryn, use the technology as that, because I would assume, of course, you can correct me, if it wasn't for that, then we don't know what would happen. So you utilizing,
That's a whole
where
other
this
podcast. I don't mean to
right.
cut you off.
But I just said to say, whether it's cybersecurity, technology, wrestling, basketball, whatever it is that we could use to get away from the pressures of life, and not to ignore it, but how we could best channel it, is very important. And having that support structure around us to help us get through it. So I thought that was very important to share.
Yeah, just having healthy outlets. And
Right.
you said something important too about checking in on people. My friends know me. I have a rule: if you cross my mind, I'm calling you. If you cross my mind, I'm texting you. If it's not anything, just to say, yo, what's up? How you doing? Everything okay? Yeah, I'm good. Okay. Just want to check in on you, let you know I was thinking about you. That's it. So yeah, it's important. It's important. And especially in this field, mental health is a big thing in cybersecurity. Because, as much as we can use tech to escape them. Some people fall into a depression because of it. They don't feel like they're doing enough. They don't feel like they're good enough. What do you call it? Imposter syndrome. That's
Imposter
a huge
syndrome.
thing.
Yeah.
That's a huge
So I
thing.
can unpack that, right? So in the beginning of my career, I told you, Dev, and I've shared on the show, I was homeless.
Yeah.
And I was sleeping in the car trying to hustle to stay in IT.
Right.
And I'm unpack a little bit here because I put a reference in the chat. We all should continue to, I 100% agree, continue to check on each other now as cyber tends to become more stressful and more adverse. Because
Absolutely.
I didn't know, and I'm sharing it with our listeners, our fellow coffee makers, that you can get PTSD from doing cybersecurity operations. Incidents. Yeah. Never mind threat intel, malware analysis, and all the other darker part of this crew that we won't really talk about on the show yet, but that wears on you the better you get at it. Yeah. So I didn't know, and a lot of buddies in my previous experience said, "Hey, you know what? Check in on yourself and get screened for that traumatic stress disorder." Now, right. a lot of folks will say, "Oh, don't do that. Oh, it's just imposter syndrome." But you want to encourage and learn and grow to check on yourself and the fellow peers in this industry because it's real, and you don't know what you don't know. So you should go get checked and make sure you're all right to become better and onset the skill and pressure now, especially in cybersecurity, because unfortunately, it's going to get a little worse before it gets better. Yeah, really unfortunate. And there is disorders and traumatic stresses that you should acknowledge and own and grow from so you can overcome them to get better.
Absolutely. And I just want to chime in there. I think from my travels and connections, probably digital forensics and incident response folks, they got it the worst, man. It seems like they do. I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody, but every time I talk to a DFIR person, it's just like, oh, where's the coffee? Like, geez, I got to go through this again. So, but it's an important.
Keep it on well supply,
right?
And give two. When you get one, give two out.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, so speaking of coffee, man, I'm sorry, I'm up. Which coffee helps you get power through your day, your cybersecurity journey and day?
So local Baltimore Zeke's Gunpowder Espresso.
Noted. You told me about that one.
And then the one I just got this week, Death Wish.
Nice. How's that?
That stuff really, really helps. And I like to brew it really strong. I usually
said
go...
Death Wish?
I was waiting for you. I was waiting for you, Dr. Joseph. There is a real coffee. There's two of them. Coffee. Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to get that.
That's just right. Like who in their right mind would say, "Let me brew that motor oil and hope that I get caffeinated enough to really touch death."
Diesel gasoline. It is not for the faint of heart.
Put that in the chat. Yeah, it sounds like it isn't. So what? So you don't combine or blend them, do you? Like, because one is gunpowder. So let's unpack that one. I know gunpowder. It's not why it's the name. It's actually a place close by called Gunpowder Falls, where they used to trade and do gunpowder exchange, pelts, things like that. But that's a local Baltimore area that they named it after, not the actual pew gunpowder.
Yeah.
So
that's a strong one too, so it could be that. We never know.
Wow, huh? And then so the other one, Death Wish, is it just Death Wish outright, or are there flavor content?
There's a flavor. I don't have it in front of me, but it's a specific flavor. It's like a dark roast. I don't have it in front of me. I can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry, but I will say it's a red and black bag with a white skull on it. So just in case, Dr. Joe, you wanted another reason to not.
Goodness.
That's what it looks like, but it's good stuff, though. I like it.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome.
So, Devrryn, if you could have any superpower to help you in cybersecurity, what would it be and why?
So there's a superpower that I I don't know if I came up with it. I haven't read it in a comic book, but I call it hyperintelligence, where like sometimes I wish I could just look at a system and know it in and out within like a half a minute. I think that'd be the best superpower. Like,
so pretty much you want to be Vision from the Avengers.
There
right,
it is.
Something like that. Exactly, something like that. I knew there was somebody out there that had something similar. But yeah, like a Vision.
We had a few guests request that too, so we have to lock in and see. Is it really like, hey, I can map every network topology as soon as I look at it, like
right,
or like to your point, to your skill set, right? I can see every vulnerability in 2D and 3D.
Right.
That would be really cool.
So speaking of that, I don't know. I just want to make a show recommendation. I don't know if you guys ever seen a show called Pantheon.
I just started watching
on
it.
Netflix. And they do the uploaded intelligence thing.
Yeah,
I just finished it. It was an amazing show. I love that show. It
was really good. Did you do both seasons? 'Cause I finished season 1. I'm just about done with season 2.
So when I saw season 2 was coming out, I was like, I didn't know there was a season 1. I'd never heard of this show. So yeah, I started season 1. and in 2 days I was finished because I was just hooked. I got
Yeah,
this
it's
binge
good.
mentality with like
That's
Netflix
good,
shows,
yeah.
like where once I start, I'm just rocking through them. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I finished season 2.
Yeah,
So
I'm
no
halfway through
spoilers.
season 1 now. So yeah, exactly, no spoilers. It also there's a show. So if you go on Amazon, there's a show called Upload, and there's like a startup-y guy that passes away, and they take his conscious up into the cloud. But I won't unpack the story too much. But it's exactly the parallels each other. Like why are there two themes of uploading consciousness to the cloud?
Yeah,
So
there's a in
I
like
think that's on Prime, isn't it? I think.
yeah, that's on Amazon
Amazon
Prime,
Prime?
and it's wild in this second season too because you start to see the like corporate. I just won't give too much, but you start to see the corporate espionage part of why this place
Right.
exists, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Just like Patreon. So I'm only halfway through the first season, but I'm definitely gonna binge too.
I'm gonna check that out. That's a common theme in like the cyberpunk. That's another. You may have heard me say that before. I love the cyberpunk genre. And
You played the game too?
Huh?
You played the game too, or did you?
Yeah. I played the game, but I mean like
Nice.
just the genre in general, like Johnny Mnemonic,
Right.
that
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I really, and that's a common theme is like uploading yourself to a computer. I don't know if I would do that if I had the option.
Nah,
I
leave me
really
go.
love it, but I
Please.
don't know.
No. Please
I,
no.
that you know, and that even kind of I don't know. So I don't know if you've seen Severance.
Oh, that was another one.
Yeah.
Well, upload is different because I think that could be very controversial. Where, so let's say, yeah, you do pass away, but then your consciousness is uploaded. Where, yeah. So I don't know if your family would want to still see after. You know what I mean?
Creepy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And then you have Severance, where you're completely separate from like your home life and pressures and stress and everything like that. And then when you go into work, you have no idea what's happening. Like it's completely
That's good.
different. But I don't. And I guess, credit to Ben Stiller, director of Severance, where I don't think it's too far off from real life. I think he plays on those little cues of of regular life right now, but exaggerates it a bit. But what I'm saying is I don't think it's too far off of what we experience or what we kind of go through in life. It's so that's why maybe a lot of people are drawn to it. At least that's my opinion. But as I watch it, especially I finished watching season 2. I saw season 3 is about to get ready to go, so I'm very happy about that.
It's the third season already?
No, well, they got the green light for season 3. They're gonna start it, but they just finished season 2 on Apple TV. But it's really good. And again, I don't want to give the spoilers out, but yeah, if you watch and really pay attention, it can be weird and stuff. But as you really pay attention to what they talk about and the certain things that they do, I don't think it's that far off from like real life. It's just he's just exaggerating it in the show, but it's really not that far fetched.
It's not. There's one I'll give. I won't be a spoiler too, but there's one I'll give that affects us in the private sector. And it kind of was in my fields. I'm only halfway through the first season, but the restaurant is an acronym. It's called PIPS. So PIPS, and depending on which Fortune 500 down, it's called Performance Improvement Plan. It's the means to which they give you 3 to 6 months to get your act together or exit you from the company.
Right.
So I find it so funny that the restaurant that they chillax in and go over at least in the first season, don't spoil it for me, right? That is the same means that they would say, where's your work-life balance? That's the only time that they ask you is in a PIP, like, hey, what do you do outside of work? So I thought it was so ironic that the place that they go to is called PIPS.
That was a little nod. It was a little nod.
Right.
A little nod, yeah.
So, Devrryn, a last question here. What hobbies, interests, or recreation activities you enjoy, beyond cybersecurity?
So beyond like tinkering on like the projects and stuff, because outside of doing anything with cybersecurity with like microcontrollers, I also like to do a lot of automation around my house.
Right.
Besides that, I'm a gamer. Yeah, I gotta throw that out there. I'm a gamer. I love to read a lot of different things. Right now, I had to look over my bookshelf. I'm on Hideo Kojima's book, The Creative Gene. So I like to read a lot as well. But I'm also into blacksmithing.
Okay.
I'm just starting to get my tools together, and I
Yeah.
like to work with my hands. So besides helping my wife out in the garden, I definitely want to make some cool stuff. Not just knives. Everybody makes knives, but I want to make tools and stuff. I think that'd be a cool skill to have. So I just started getting into that, and that's something I think I'm going to be doing a lot. And besides that, just general working out, things like that, taking my dog for walks, stuff like that. But that's where I guess you could say I would do my best to kind of like separate, because one thing
Yeah.
I always tell people is like, we can love this field, we can be very passionate about it, but sometimes you gotta go outside. Like you
Exactly.
just gotta
Touch
go
some
outside,
grass.
walk away from it for a minute. As a lot of people say, touch some grass. You know, just walk away from it for a minute. So you know, those are the things that I'm really into outside of that.
No, I think that's perfect because and I do want to learn more about your blacksmithing, but as far as definitely having an outlet, you know, as we can get entrenched in the work that we do, and those who work in the more secure areas, you know, working in skills labs myself, where you don't have any sort of outlets,
Right.
window.
no windows or anything like that, you definitely appreciate being outside. So definitely, please go outside when you're not at work.
I was gonna say that's
But
exactly
all
right.
that, yeah, it's definitely important to have those outlets where, yeah, away from work and just have a way to decompress and, you know, kind of get in tune with nature and everything else that's going on besides work, because it's always going to be there. You know what I'm saying? You know, so we can't monitor it 24/7. We try our best to, but you know, we're still human. We're not robots.
Not
But yeah,
yet. No, I'm joking.
well, I was gonna ask you what prompted you to get started with blacksmithing? Was that something you seen someone do, or like what kind of got you going?
That's the build side of me. That's just I like working with my hands. Like my cars, I haven't taken my cars to a mechanic in years. I do all of my own work.
Oh, that's
I'm
good.
always going around the house tinkering, you know, putting stuff together. But I like to work with my hands. I like being creative and building stuff. What really got me into it, I think it was just an interest over time. You know, I guess the quintessential show, Forged in Fire. I watched that with my family.
Put that in
And
the
it always just seemed interesting to me to take something like a metal that's generally, you know, unmovable and kind of just shape it into what you want it to be.
Right.
So it's just interesting to me. It's just a way for me, and that's also a way to get out some aggression because you know it's a pretty heavy hammer, and I get to beat stuff up. So it's helpful for that too. But that's really what got me into it. Just a general interest in wanting to work with my hands and wanting a different outlet. Like I said, I'm just starting to get my stuff together. I got a class I'm supposed to be doing in a little while. I got books on it, and I'm on the subreddit. There's a blacksmithing subreddit, so asking a lot of questions there. But I'm moving into it. It's been something I've been interested in for a while.
Can you make one of those? What's those popular garden knives that have like the instruments and measurements on it? You gonna try?
Is it a hori hori?
Hori, yeah, that's the one. So you're gonna try to make one of those?
I bought my wife a hori hori for her birthday.
Nice.
So yeah, I could probably make one of those. Well, right now I'm not sure. It might take me a little bit to get my skills together. It may not come out looking like a hori hori immediately, but you know.
Well,
Next
you know, you tinker around, you'll get there.
Yep. It's just it's a process. It's all a process.
And you know I'm not gonna let you slide because you can't say Hideo without referencing it. So I am a huge fan of that book, The Creative Gene. And just for our listeners, right? So you will hear me and Devrryn on everywhere we go say Hideo, right? So Hideo Kojima's mindset to Metal Gear was ridiculous.
He was light years ahead.
Light years ahead. So he wrote the creative gene of what influenced him to make the Metal Gear series.
Yep.
So a lot of times when it gets eerie because you'll see me and Devrryn everywhere like Hideo, because we're referencing, citing him. Like he's predicted the AI trends. He's predicted a lot of the skips that we talk about in his game, right?
He's got the game. And that's what made it so insane was like, I'll never forget the DARPA chief. I don't know if any.
Hey, wait a minute. You know, codename Sigint.
Right, exactly. And I remember, like, I knew what was happening, but then I found out DARPA was a real department, and I was like, "What?"
Wait, hold up.
Like as a kid, I was like, "What?" And then I remember when DARPA had released footage of this was years and years ago when they released footage of their first quadruped robot. It was called Big Dog, and I'm looking at it, and it looks like a Metal Gear. So it's just like, what did Hideo know that we didn't know? So yeah, that's why we
contacts and contracts. We don't want to know. I'm be real. I'm be the gray again. I don't want to know what he wants to know because the book is like something like the first book is like something like 300 works of art. So that's why he calls it the creative gene. Then he cites those works alongside his development students. I haven't finished it because there's a chapter. I'm not going to spoil it. There's a chapter that said, wait, maybe I shouldn't have bought this. The second one is Phantom Pain. So he has something called the Magnum Opus. Same art lineage, right? Like this is what I did to influence the art Metal Gear, but these are other arts that I've inspired to make my Magnum Opus. So he openly says Phantom Pain is his Magnum Opus.
Yep.
Now, if you finish the game, it gets hairy.
It does.
That game is ridiculously like accurate. like trending on current affairs. But the other thing is, like you say, like just like the guy that did Mr. Robot, like was he a contractor? Like was he a consultant? I don't want to know because
Yeah.
it's just too accurate for somebody that's not in, he's out of Japan, he's out of Oconus or whatever. But why is it so accurate, and why was it projected so far ahead of time? Like that was 20 something. I mean, yeah, like you said, I was a kid. It's like 20 something years ago that first game came out.
Yep.
And why was it so accurate? But anyway, we won't.
Yeah.
We
I was
probably have
gonna
to do
say
a
that
separate
we'll be here for
episode on
another
that.
hour talking about.
Well, Devrryn, we definitely had a great time having you on the Cyber Coffee Hour. Definitely learned a lot, shared some laughs, and learn more about you, especially for our listeners. But before we go, anything you want to share with our listeners?
Keep going, stay curious, keep learning. It's like I said, or like I was introduced, I'm a lifelong student. And if you want to get into cybersecurity, what you should really understand is you will never know everything. You're never going. It's too big. It's too big. So get into it, learn stuff, have fun, hack the planet, and I'll see you at Root.
Well said. Well said. Thank you. And thank you to you for joining us for another episode of the Cyber Coffee Hour, part of the Alive Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode, explore more engaging content in the Alive Podcast Network app. By supporting this podcast and nearly 100 other Black hosted shows, you can enjoy ad-free listening while contributing to a diverse range of voices in the podcasting space. We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more insightful conversations with you in our next episode. So until then, keep brewing those ideas and stay curious about cybersecurity.
Thanks,
all right,
guys.
That's it. It's a wrap. We out of here. Peace.
Take it easy.
Good stuff.